All right. Happy New Year. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Let There Be Talk. Today is Monday, January 1st, the first day of 2018, and the first day of you lying to yourself. Right? I'm going to do this and that and this and that's going to change, and you'll see. 3 weeks later, you'll be right back to where you are. Hopefully not. I'm just joking. But, I'm the same way. Every year I would say, I'm going to quit sugar and learn Spanish and blah, 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 And, I finally quit sugar. It's almost 2 years now. But that was because forced medical. Mentally, I couldn't do it on my own. I had to hit rock bottom. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what it is, but we're just programmed. We're programmed to set ourselves up for failure, I guess. As you read, if you've read that book, The War of Art, and you realize, as I read the book, I go, fuck, that's me. Constant self-sabotage. And I think that's really what the goal in life should be, is no self-sabotage. It's so fucking hard, Just walk around going crazy, and then you just you self-destruct, and then that becomes a sabotage. It's a weird, vicious circle of human nature. And a lot of times I'll meet people that don't have that mechanism in them, and they're mostly pretty successful or pretty happy. So you want to get to that. That area in your mind or your life. And as corny as that sounds, it's funny. I was listening to, which by the way, I worship this record. I dove down the rabbit hole of all things Les Claypool and got into the Claypool Lennon Delirium, which is Les Claypool and Sean Lennon. And I'm late to this. I got down on this record. It came out in 2016, and there's a song on there, Boomerang Baby. And I was listening to it, and I was like, whoa, these lyrics really resonate. And it was just pretty much about millennials. And people say millennials, but I say everyone, and their addiction and of the phone, and how they don't live life and just stare at the phone, and look for personal gratifications of putting up something and then hoping you get likes and stuff. And I'm guilty of that, of course. And I think that's mostly because I'm in the business. Like I always said, if I wasn't in the business, I wouldn't be on probably social media or the phone. I would just be somewhere out in Todos Santos, just riding dirt bikes and figuring out life, I guess. Some kind of hippie thing, or back in Yosemite. Who knows what I'd be doing? But it is a necessary evil, and I hope to put that down a little bit, but it's hard because that phone is also how I find out about work. So I'm constantly staring at it, hoping I got work. If I had work booked for the next year, I probably wouldn't look at the phone that much. I'd look at it probably maybe once a day, like, oh yeah, look at that, and then just move on. But, it is definitely a necessary evil, and I don't even know where I'm going with this, but what I'm saying is basically a long way around. Check out this record, the Claypool Lennon Delirium. I recently interviewed Les and Tim Alexander from Primus. Those episodes will be coming up. And I realized as I was interviewing, the reason I love Primus is they're different human beings. And as I interviewed each one of them, Larry, which is already out, and then Tim, and then, of course, Les, I was like, oh, these guys are, no wonder the music's so cool, man. They're actually cool people, like really cool. And sit down and talk with them was incredible. Got some great episodes coming up. John Five's going to be coming up. Colin Hanks, who directed that great Eagles of Death Metal documentary and the Tower Records one. Dov Davidoff, who's got a great book out I'm going to try to read more books this year. Instead of looking at phones, read some books. Road Dog, Dov Davidov's book, is fantastic. I'm only on the 3rd chapter, but I'm burning through this thing. It's great. And he'll be a guest coming up here. And also one of my favorite comedians ever, and an incredible human. But yeah, man, I hope you guys have a great new year. I got some good stuff coming up. I got a YouTube channel out right now. Subscribe to it, Dean Del Rey on YouTube. I've got all the podcasts up on there, and there's also going to be, I got a thing on there I'm going to be doing called Cool Shit Magazine, and it'll just be stuff that I talk about on the podcast. I'll probably show it to you video-wise of stuff I'm into, records, audio gear, motorcycles, cars, anything that I think is cool will be up on there, little 3-minute videos. That's going to start happening this year. And the YouTube channel is Dean Del Rey, and it's up right now, all the podcasts. I'm going to try to get some of my crowd work up there also. I don't want to put material up there and just burn it up, but get some crowd work up there of my comedy, doing a little crowd work. So that's up. And I'm also going to try to get some better microphones for the show, a couple cameras. And get this thing to another level, Keep punching away and figure it out. Try to figure out how to spread the word of Let There Be Talk, or the Del Raisers, the 1,000 true fans. Figure that out. Had some great shows last night. I did 3 shows. 2 were incredible at the Comedy Store in the main room with David Spade. David Spade did a show called David Spade and Friends, and I was very, very happy to be on that, man. An honor always to perform at the Comedy Store on New Year's Eve, especially in the main room, 2 sold-out shows. And then I closed 2017 out with a set over at the Hollywood Improv where I absolutely ate a dick. Nothing worse than closing the new year out with just a fucking fierce bombing. It was incredible. Incredible how these bombs come on, man. It's like, I was just talking to someone last week, and I was like, man, I think I'm figuring it out. I'm figuring it out. I got all this new material. It's starting to work. I'm looking forward to getting it out there. And then boom, just a punch in the fucking face. It's so funny when you're bombing. It's like, I think the best way to describe it is if you were set yourself on fire and you have no idea how to put yourself out. You're just trying anything. And that's what bombing's like. You're just up there like, okay, that bit didn't work, but this next bit will get him and I'll be back on track. And then that bit doesn't work. You're like, what the fuck? Then you switch to crowd work and they're like, we don't want to hear from you. And then the crowd work doesn't work. And then you try one more Hail Mary, your best bit, and that doesn't work. And then you just fucking walk out of the club and take the L. Take the L, not the L train. Take the L for loss. And that's how I closed out the year. I was back at the house about 2 minutes to midnight, as the great Iron Maiden would say, and dove under the blankets and just fucking wrote it out. I want to tell you guys, before I get into the guest today is an incredible friend of mine, a comedian, Jamar Neighbors. He is absolutely one of the funniest guys that I know. He's part of the Wave, like Jeremiah from last week's episode. He also has a smoking one-man show coming up. And that's going to be in January. We talk all about it. I think that's very cool, doing a one-man show. I dream of doing a one-man show, and I'm like, how do you even do that? So it's great to hear how to do it or how he's going about it here on this episode. He's also got a great comedy mixtape out. We talk about that. You're going to love it, Jamar Neighbors. Before I do get into it, just a couple things coming up. If you want to donate to the podcast, like my boy Steve McDonald did, thank you so much for the donation. You can go to patreon.com/Dean Del Rey, and donate right there on the page. Let's see. Live dates coming up. People asking me about the record. The record is done. It was recorded in Denver about 4 or 5 months ago. And as I listened back to it, the mixes and everything, it was very good. It was a night, an electric couple nights of recording, but I think it could be better. The material got better over the time of the last 5 months. And also, I was a little too big on it, you know? I was just like, yeah, all right. And as I listened back to it, I was like, well, the audience was so good that I was bigger. And it's like, it's got no peaks and valleys. I've got it in the can. It's good. It's great, you know, but it's going to be my first thing out. So I want it to be incredible, especially on bong load. So I'm going to re-record a record, see what happens. And that's going to be in La Jolla, San Diego, California, La Jolla Comedy Store, January 19th through the 21st. And we'll see what we get if you want to come be part of that, a live recording and try it again. That's what happens, man. I could easily put this out and just move on. Just collect some money and maybe get some fans, new fans have never heard me or anything. But, you know, it's like my record that I did, Lone Mountain Serenade, my music record. I listen to that right now, and I got no cringe-worthy moments. And I want the first comedy record to be the same way. So, gonna try it again. That's a little bit of my update on 2018's first day. I hope all you guys are good. This episode is brought to you by my brand new sponsor, TLG. TLG Auto. You got a Porsche, or you're thinking of getting a Porsche and you live in Los Angeles, don't go to anybody else but my boys at TLG. TLG is absolutely incredible, man. These guys know everything about the Porsche industry, the Porsche motor, the Porsche car, everything about it. I had Marco on an episode here, and it was one of my favorites of last year. Check them out. Give them a call. They'll give you a little special price if you mention the podcast here and you want to get your car inspected. Maybe you need an inspection if you're thinking of buying a car or just need a new mechanic. 818-982-7610. How cool is that to have a Porsche mechanic as a podcast sponsor? That's the kind of shit I'm into. Not some toothpaste or butt cream. You know what I mean? Porsche mechanic, handmade. Also, Carson Guitars. Carson Hess, my boy, building custom Telecasters, Stratocasters, and jazz and P basses. Check him out, Carson Hess, on Instagram, Carson Hess 1. And get yourself a custom-made guitar, man. Don't buy something off the shelf. It's not that much more money to get a custom-made, handmade guitar, and you're supporting artists here in America. Carson's out in Michigan, building incredible stuff right now. Hit him up, Carson Hess Guitars. Also, El Cajon Harley ringing in the new year. El Cajon Harley, they got all the brand new 2018s on the floor, and they're ready for you to come in and test ride. Get yourself a brand new Harley Davidson. I don't care what you get. Sportster, Softail, the new CVOs, whatever. But get yourself on a bike. Start up the new year right on two wheels. You know you've always wanted a motorcycle. Tell your lady, sorry, I'm getting a motorcycle. I don't answer to no one. What's that dumb saying? Better to ask for forgiveness than ask to get it or what. I forget what it is, but I always used to hear guys say that when I'd sell motorcycles. You know, they'd come in and, I don't know. This is what I say. If you want to sell something to a man, just go, what are you, a pussy? Then they go, oh, fuck that. Give me 2 bucks. I'm no pussy. And then they fucking never ride them. Get yourself a motorcycle, El Cajon Harley. Let's get into it right now. I love all you guys. Subscribe and keep leaving those reviews. We're almost at 1,000 on iTunes. Candles lit right here with Jamar Neighbors. All right, here we are, another episode of Let There Be Talk. Great guest today, comedian and star of The Wave. That's what I like to say. And Jamar Neighbors. How are you? Good friend of mine. How are you,
Chilling, man, breathing, having a good time in my life. You know, yeah, man. Just thugging and working out and working on my one-man show and shit, getting that ready. And just doing stand-up, man.
Yeah, that's right. You work out every day?
No, not every single day. Maybe like 4 times out of the week I go boxing and shit.
Boxing?
Yeah, I love that shit, man.
Yeah, where do you go?
I go to Fortune Boxing Gym right there off Sunset and Gardner.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Boxing is a workout, man.
It's so fucking, you know what I realize is that nothing is a workout if you like doing
You're right.
You know,
You're right.
Even comedy, it's like,
oh, yeah.
I like doing
People go, you work every night. I go, I haven't worked in 8 years.
Right.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
I know what work is.
Yeah,
I've done it.
Yeah.
I've dug ditches. I've mowed lawns.
Yeah.
I've sold motorcycles. I've fucking,
Yeah. Even the work that you put into comedy, I was like, all right, well, at the end of the day, I get to do this. You know?
Yeah,
like,
we're hanging with buddies and we're,
fucking around saying the silliest shit.
Yeah. It's, I was boxing for a while with Sean Kerrigan over at this place on Beverly. Great little mini gym. And I was getting into it, man. The speed bag and jump rope is got to be the hardest fucking thing ever.
Kill that shit.
I remember he gave it to me. He goes, jump rope for 5 minutes, And I was like, I got this. And after 60 seconds, I was done.
Yeah. Because you don't think the 6 minutes is 5 minutes is a long time because you're like,
oh,
but it's a lot.
I go to the gym every day now.
You do?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where you go?
I go just right here at 24.
Yeah.
To me, the gym has to be easy.
Yeah.
And then I'll go every day. So I get up around 9:30. I walk straight to the gym, and I work out for an hour, and then I come home and start my day.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
How early are you getting up?
Fuck, unfortunately, like 8 o'clock. I used to sleep like half the day.
Yeah.
But now, I'm up at 8, which is cool. I get shit done.
Yeah.
What time do you go to bed?
Shit, like 6 in the morning.
Oh, you're like that. I used to be the reverse.
Yeah.
And then what time do you get up?
Like 1, 2.
Yeah. And what are you doing at night? Just watching TV, fucking around?
Nah, man, I'm crazy. Like I'm like writing and reading and shit. I'm like always working on jokes and shit like that. And
you got some great things because I think that in this business right now and being flooded with specials, you have to think outside the box, and that's what you did with your comedy record, which is rocking. You had a comedy mixtape, which is fantastic, and somebody gave you a great write-up on Split Sider.
Yeah, that shit was fucking great. Pablo Goldstein, at Split Sider, man, I really, really, really appreciated that. Yeah, man, I don't know. I've always kind of been like that. It was Coach T.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like he came to me with the idea, and so we just fleshed that out, man. So now I'm looking to like do like the live version of that. Everybody was like, well, what's the live version of that? What's the live version of that? And I didn't know for a while, and I had to sit on it and think about it for a while. And
you mean like the industry?
What do you mean?
The industry's asking you, how could we like film a live version of this or something? Or just people in general?
Everybody.
Right.
And like, and I'm like, I don't know. It's like, Jamar needs to come up with something. And I'm like, you need to give Jamar some fucking time to think. Like,
yeah, right.
So like a year later, I was like, I got it. And so I'm thinking of, I was watching a few things happen. I'm gonna do a one-man show called Jamar Neighbors Presents Definitely a Comedy Jam.
Right.
Because right. Yeah, Def Comedy Jam was like my favorite era of like comedy and shit. Like nobody gave a fuck on there. Like
Right.
people were fucking stools,
Filthy.
just raw. But
And there's no rules. It's like, I think that there's so many rules, like in these different communities. Like this community says, like I was just talking to Ian Edwards about it. You know, this community frowns upon callbacks.
It's like, fuck you, man.
Yeah.
It's like, it's my art. Let me do what the fuck.
This community frowns upon, movement. Physical comedy.
I never understood that. It's like who the fuck are these people?
Yeah,
you know
who are these people?
Yeah.
Most of them aren't working.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So then they box themselves into so many rules that they
Trash.
never even working. But to me, comedy is if it's you and you're not like, okay, well, I'm going to be a physical comic now because that's popular, or I'm going to be a one-liner because that's popular. If it's you and that's what you do, eventually it comes around and they go, oh, well, he's always done that. You know what I'm saying? But to put up these rules and these notions of what you think comedy should be is ridiculous.
yeah.
You know,
exactly.
and that comes also down to age, like me, that guy's 51, that guy, he's done, or whatever. Any kind of rules. There's no rules.
Like, I mean, I've always Richard Pryor said he told Martin on his show, he was like, always remember, man, that you're ageless.
Yep.
You know, it's like man, it's like if you're funny, if your cream rises to the top, if you're funny, and do whatever the fuck you want to do, just as long as you ain't killing nobody. And
all the greats are in their 50s right now. You know what I mean? 40s and 50s. You know what I'm saying? Like, and the dudes, from back in the day, those guys, Carlin was not fucking 21 towards the end, and he's still packing them in. You know, if you're saying something and you're not dated, if you're not sitting up there going, like you have no idea what's going on in the world, then your comedy is aged. You go on in a blazer and you're talking about what about Pac-Man? I was playing Pac-Man yesterday.
Nixon.
Nixon, anything like that. Yeah, but it's. There's no rules, and I like that you took a chance with that, and I'm trying to be better at myself because I want to do this comedy special documentary where you're following. I do bits, and then there's parts of my life, then bits and parts of my life, and I keep trying to do that, but I'm trying to find somebody that'll go on the ride with me, as far as money wise, because I want it to look good. There's nothing worse than a shit documentary. People don't watch them. You got to have them look good, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It also depends on what you're going for, because sometimes, I mean, I'm weird. Like, sometimes I think, like, makeshift shit is so fucking funny. But for your documentary, I know what you're going for. So it's like, that needs to be executed as dope as possible and everything. But, man, absolutely. It's so funny. Cause I'm like, well, what I'm realizing now is that, like, I know I didn't want to do anything like, I never want to do anything like everybody else is doing. It's like, oh, okay, everybody's doing a special, and they're just standing up there and doing this, and I go, all right, well, what can I do?
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't know. I was like, I don't know how this is gonna go. I think it's gonna go great, but I was like, fuck it, man. I'm just gonna do like a one-man show. I went to theater.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about it. Now, what is it? Because I think my favorite special in the last 5 years was Neil Brennan's 3 Mics.
Yeah.
And that really took something to do it. You have to go out and do that. Now, you've never done the one-man show. So what is the one-man show? What are your inspirations? Did you see other ones and think, okay, because I think all the way back to the Whoopi Goldberg one. Also, I'm a big Henry Rollins fan, and his spoken word to me is a one-man show, and it's super funny. There's tons of comedy. But what are you looking at to do that?
I'm looking at I saw 3 Mics, and I told Neil is genius, is great. I was watching it's crazy. I was watching Nick Cannon's special, his last special.
Oh yeah, I saw that. He's wearing the leather jacket.
Yeah, like on the all black thing. I just thought it was, people hated it. I just thought it was so fucking funny though. But funny, like maybe funny for like the wrong reasons or whatever.
Right. You're laughing at him, not with him.
Maybe, but it made me laugh, so it did its job.
Right. Right.
So I was like, man, did he do this shit on purpose or whatever? Not. But I was like, man, I should just fuck around or whatever. And then I did like the Def Comedy Jam audition, and I didn't get in.
Yeah.
So a part of me was like, fuck it, man, I'll throw my own Def Comedy Jam. I'll call it Definitely a Comedy Jam.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll bring up my own comics. You know what? I'll just be all the comics.
Oh.
And so that's how it like.
So there's going to be different characters?
Yeah. So it's just going to be, but it's going to be me just coming out as like 4 different characters for like a regular comedy show.
Costumes and everything?
Yeah.
So like maybe like that's almost like a Whoopi back in the day, you know? Because I think that's one of the greatest things ever, and a lot of people don't even really remember it, but the characters.
Like Fontaine and.
Man. That shit was amazing, man.
She, that shit is genius. Oh, you know what I was really a fan of growing up too, was John Leguizamo's Freak.
Oh yeah.
It's like that's my favorite one man show of all time.
Oh wow.
Yeah, of all time. It's arguably like one of my favorite specials. Like maybe like at least like top 3, and I like and then so I was like, okay, well, how can I put my fucking spin on it and shit? So I was like, all right. Well, so I had like 4 characters.
So you've brought a painting over. Now, did you paint this?
Yeah, I did.
This is great, and it's the 4 guys. So let's start with it's a square, and the one to the right's got a jersey on.
Yeah, his name is OJ Jersey.
OJ Jersey, and it's a jersey. OJ's number.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what is and now when you're thinking of the characters, are you looking at like, are they each going to do 15 minutes?
Yeah. So they're each gonna do 15 minutes, and then in editing will narrow it down.
Right. And so you get into the character of like, okay, OJ's jersey. Is it actually you think I would do comedy as OJ or?
No, it's see, since it's themed as like a Def Comedy Jam type thing, he's just gonna be the host.
Okay, gotcha.
OJ Jersey's gonna be the host,
celebrity host.
Yeah. He's gonna be like the Martin of like Def Jam,
right?
Sort of. And he just doesn't give a fuck. He's wild. He comes out. He's fucking like throwing chairs and beating up the stool and everything. And he talks about all this controversial shit like John Benet Ramsey documentaries and all this shit or whatever. And but he's basically the energy that keeps the show going and all this stuff. And then so the first comic coming to the stage would be a crack baby from Compton.
I can see that. I can see the painting, and it's Jamar with like a baby pacifier, and like just dressed as a baby. Hilarious.
Yeah, and he's just gonna probably talk about like stories like growing up in Compton and like foster homes and all this shit, which is like a piece of my true life,
right,
and all that stuff. He's gonna cover like all like the personal like stuff.
Now, are you writing the material, or are you gonna be riffing?
Yeah, a little bit of both. But I'm you write down
premises.
Like, like I'm writing down more so the voice.
I gotcha.
And then I'm gonna.
Are they each gonna have a different tone of voice too, like a character voice, like hey, that's crack baby, like
yeah. He's like OJ Jersey is just like he's just gonna talk like like me.
Yeah.
Like hey, whatever, everybody, this is OJ Jersey and whatever, and fuck us up with them damn John Benet Ramsey documentaries in America, love that shit and blah, blah, blah. And crack baby from Compton is like I'm a crack baby, I'm from Compton, man, and like I don't know, that's his voice.
Gotcha. And then next up.
And then next up is Malachi, but I'm thinking about changing his name to the Man in the Purple Jacket.
Okay.
And he just talks about like philosophy and deep existential.
Oh
like,
yeah,
you
like
know,
one of those guys. I know what you mean. Like that is. Wouldn't it be
like, wow.
crazy if the sun was closer to the face?
Absolutely. Yeah. Because you know we all got that side where like, the philosophers are
A little too much weed.
Yeah,
You start digging down rabbit holes of like, earthquakes are actually government made. That kind of stuff. Yeah. I like that.
And he made and J Raw is just he's like the real hood version of me. He talks about like pussy and bitches, but he covers like the relationships, like the relationship aspect of like a special. You know how every special like talk about like relationships.
Yeah.
But it's in his own way. By the way, this is going to be DJ'd by Coach T.
Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So he will be.
He'll be playing music over some
rad.
of the. He'll be playing music over like some of the characters, like bits and shit. It's almost like a spoof of a. It's almost like a spoof of a special.
Right.
It's real, but it's not. But it's like I don't know.
So you're gonna shoot it, right?
I think so.
Right.
I know the first two shows won't be shot, and the second two shows will be. I mean. The Friday show won't be shot, and the Saturday shows will.
I think you should shoot them both. You don't have to deal with the Friday, but you can look at the Friday, and maybe you get some really wacky shit from it because it's so organic and first off.
Yeah. And those are all, like those are
the wins.
Yeah. It's gonna be 4 shows,
right?
too, so.
But I'm saying you shoot the first 2 on Friday, and then you go and tweak it and stuff on Saturday. Yeah, maybe it's better, but maybe it's not. Who knows?
Well, I was talking to the director. And he goes, oh man, I feel like we should film the second because then it'll be like crisp and this and that. But I'm like, I'm not opposed to letting this be whatever the fuck is gonna be.
That was one
that's
of
what
the,
you're saying.
Yeah, that was one of the great notes on that Split Sider said about your thing, and what I really resonated with me, and I learned shit every day from whatever level comics there are. There could be a brand new comic, and there could be the biggest comic, and then in between, and I always pick up key nuggets, and one was you weren't afraid to leave bits on there that didn't do good. And that goes back to that great Day the Laughter Died Dice Clay special that most comics think is his best because he's just in there and he's eating it. It's later on, and Rick Rubin's idea was let's put this out.
Yeah.
Let's show the warts.
Yeah. It's like that. Like remember, like who I've been watching lately is a Bobcat Goldthwait.
Love him. Grew up on him.
That motherfucker is a like that guy.
That guy was genius.
I just watched. I can't believe that I've never ever seen that guy do stand up, and I was like, yeah, he's filling every single thing. He's filling every single thing that he's fucking talking about. He's talking about how nervous he is. He's like, yeah, it's fucking how many people up in here. It's like, yeah, I feel like that sometimes. Like when I get ready to do shit like this, or even go up in the OR sometimes. Like, I'm low key a nervous wreck.
Yeah, absolutely. Every night, I always tell people every night the first set for me is always like so unnatural.
Yeah,
because I don't care how long you've been doing it. I'm 8 years now, which is nothing, but 3,700 sets or something. And you think, oh well, you got this. No, you don't, because it's so unnatural. Yeah, we're performers and we can talk to people.
You'll be funny.
Yeah. But it's the mechanism and the mechanics of it. And that's where I think as you get better and better later on, you start dropping the mechanics. Like, fuck all these tools.
Yeah,
let's get in there. The rules. Let's get in there, you know? Yeah, it's really wild. And Bobcat, man, I grew up in the Bay Area, and when he came to town, it was like, have you seen this homeless guy who he does comedy? He's crazy. He's like a schizo. And I didn't find out till later that he was from Boston and he'd been doing comedy before and then struck up this thing and hit gold with it, But it's incredible to see somebody like that radical. Yeah. And now to watch him too. So I see him once in a while, like maybe 5 times a year. and he's funny as fuck now. And his special was called, "Yeah, I don't look the same. You don't look the same either. Or you don't sound the same either." He's different now, but he's got really smart, funny jokes. And his films are incredible. Shakes the Clown, the Bigfoot movie. These films are next fucking level weirdness.
I think that I'm just mad that I got into him like a little. Well, maybe not. Maybe this is the right time.
That's great when you find new inspiration later on. If you watched everything at the beginning, all comedy at the beginning, then you're like, oh, there's nowhere to go now.
Yeah, it's like, oh man, there were like I was like, there are no fucking rules in comedy, and there never have been.
Yeah, it's really strange, man. And I really love that that you push that. Because I now, I remember Garry Shandling. Sarah Silverman said, "You guys see Garry Shandling because he just writes down whatever's on his mind on the way to the club and then does it on stage." And then I met Shandling at the 40-year anniversary of the Comedy Store, and I heard you just write shit and then go on stage and do it. And he goes, "Yeah, I wrote this on Laurel Canyon." And he went up there and he was going through it, and some was killing and some wasn't. But the freedom of that, I was just talking to Tom Papa about that. This is rad. So now I write down each day a couple things, whip them out, and read them and move on,
Yeah, and everybody's approach is different. You know what I'm saying? Like some people can do what Seinfeld can do and just sit there and write for like all day or do whatever. But and Garry Shandling like writes on the way, and it's like it's all different. But as long as it's true to you, you know what I'm saying? Like that, like that's what comedy is. You know,
it really is.
Like. But it also depends on like what you're going for too, like if
you're just trying to be famous, then you already know what they're gonna do. They're just gonna copy whoever's the big guy right now. It's like bands. Nirvana's hot. Here comes 40 Nirvanas. When I started, fucking. Jeselnik's hot. Everybody wants to be Jeselnik,
Now we're all mean one-liner guys.
Yeah, right. And then, then everybody wants to be like this guy or that guy. And then, after a while, it's like, well, who are you? You can tell the cadence, the outfits, the hand movements, whatever, It comes down to... You got to be yourself, man. Yep. And that's what's great about watching you. It's completely dangerous, which I always love in comedy. It's like dangerous. You don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be something that's going to make you feel.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of what it is.
Let's talk a little bit about the wave, man.
Yep.
I had Jeremiah on last week, and
I know that motherfucker. He's so fucking funny.
The wave is it's just so incredible.
Funny. Yeah, man.
What magic, huh?
I love. I was hanging out with Willie Hunter yesterday. We were at the Comedy Store and fucking roast battle and shit, and we were just watching it, and it's so fucking fun to do. Like we are. Like I'm the guy in the group that's like, man, I'm gonna quit this shit real soon.
Yeah.
But then every time you do it, it's like, how can I leave?
Yeah. Like, it's like crack.
Yeah. It's like,
I mean? I'm off you, and then you get that giant high of one of your pranks goes huge.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh man.
And you're like, I could never leave you guys. Yeah. It's so fucking fun. We just did this show in La Jolla.
Yeah. How was that?
Oh, fucking fun. There was only like 15 people there, but it's not only. There were 15 people there, and it was fucking fun, man. And it went better than we expected it to.
Right.
And that's because we really didn't expect anything.
Now, what was your plan for the wave? Did each person do comedy, and then you did the wave, like the wave together, all three of you guys up there riffing?
How did... the show that we did in La Jolla?
Yeah.
We met maybe like a few days before or whatever. I'm like, all right, what do you guys want to do?
Yeah.
And then so we just wrote down these things, and then Jeremiah kind of like formatted it in like an order and everything, and then we just let it kind of. We kind of went off that, and then we kind of just started doing whatever the fuck we wanted to do when we got there, and the audience just ate it up, man.
You all three on stage at the same time?
Mm-hmm.
No individual comedy?
Well, okay, so we all went up, and like Willie Hunter went up first.
Yep.
And he did his thing, and then we would like interrupt him and do like like little weird shit in between, and then Jeremiah went up, and then we'd interrupt and do weird shit in between, and I go up, and then we'd all interrupt each other, and then we just brought out like just random toys and bits and shit. Willie ran up there and did like 3 Michael Jacksons and shit. And then I kept running up there doing like a LeVar Ball impression. And like Jeremiah's doing his Alfred from Batman impression and shit. And then I don't know. I went up there in with like bird feathers on my back.
Yeah.
And then I just start like sitting on like eggs and shit. Like I was like hatching them and all this shit. And the audience totally ate all that shit up, man.
That's awesome, man. That could be a cool tour.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. I mean, that's maybe in the long run, that's the plan, is to get us some get us out there like that.
Yeah, because I was talking to Jeremiah. Also, he was saying it would be cool to pitch a sketch show with the 3 of you, because what you do are kind of mini sketches in between people's roasting,
Mm-hmm.
and turn that into the Wave sketch show.
Yeah. I mean, we were already we've sat down and we've talked about it and everything, and I'm always writing down ideas for like shit like that I want us all to do. Yeah, but it's one of the funnest things that I do out here. You know what I had to learn? Because I always talk about, oh man, I gotta stop doing the Wave shit, man. But then what I learned is that oh man, you can do multiple things at once. Because I'm always like, man, is this taken away from me being taken serious as a comedian and a performer and I was like, dude, you can do it all.
Yeah,
you want.
It is true, because you do go through those things in your mind, right? Like I'm like, fucking podcasting like 6 days a week, man. Is this taken away from my stand-up time? And it's like, not really, because I'd probably just be like watching fucking, Netflix or listening to records or something. So, you got to keep all the irons in the fire.
Yeah.
And it keeps you sharp on everything.
Yeah. And everything feeds everything too. So I had to humble myself and learn that. Like, dude, you can do multiple things at once, and it all feeds. Like, no matter like what your idea is of yourself, you know what I'm saying? You're actually doing what you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so yeah. And so I was like, yeah, man, do it all.
Were you do you feel you're a different guy in the Wave than you are on stage as stand-up as far as your personality and stuff? Because that I would wonder, like sometimes I feel like, okay, if I'm doing this, does it take away from my stage that, what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there is a third wall. When you're on stand up, you're like, this is me right here.
Yeah. But then I thought about that, and it's like when I do the Wave, that's a version of me. It's all a version of me. You know what I'm saying? It's like I am the guy in the Wave, and then sometimes that translates like to my stand up. It's like, because then I also forget that even back in the days, or maybe I'm not even looking closely enough at my stand up, where I'm like, dude, that shit is wild too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, what are you talking about? Just because you're talking about serious stuff doesn't mean that it's like none of it's to be taken like too serious and shit. You know what I'm saying? Just
I know, because I get into that thing of like, I love Bill Hicks. Would he be all goofy on something else?
Like, fuck Bill Hicks. Dean Del Rey.
Right. And then you start to think, well, hey, my favorite of all time, Richard Pryor, he did Stir Crazy and Silver State, and all these goofy films that were fantastic.
It's like they were just clowns. We're all clowns in some sort of way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like the job is to be funny.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? It's like there's no one way to be funny either. It's all, it's like be how you feel.
Yeah. Yep.
And so I don't think that that I'm so different. And now that I'm like really like looking at it like from the wave, it's like sometimes I have sets where I want to be serious,
Right.
and then sometimes I have sets where I want to be a fucking jump all over the fucking place, you know?
Right. Yeah,
And,
absolutely. It's just how you feel that day.
Even in the wave though, sometimes where like there are times where I'm not doing as much, or I keep my movements to a minimum, or my act outs to a minimum and stuff. So it's like, yeah, it's all the energy and how you feel about it.
Yeah. What? Where are you from, man?
Compton.
Compton.
I was born in Compton, raised in South LA, maybe Pasadena for like 2 years, but I've been in LA like my whole life.
Wow.
Yeah, born and raised.
You remember the first time you got into comedy? Like, what got you into it? Was it like early on, Def Jam, of course, but what gets you there?
Yeah, I always tell the story too. I was like, I was a kid. I was maybe like 7, 8, 6, 7, 8. And I was in school and I was like a class clown and shit.
Yeah.
But I didn't know. I just being loud and
Yeah, right.
wild and shit and just blurting out shit or whatever. And one of the kids were like, "Man, it's like you should be one of those people that make people laugh. You should make people laugh." You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
And then like I swear to God, it was like the same day I had to walk home. My home was like right down the street from the school or whatever, and I had to walk home or whatever. And I go in the house, and my uncle was like laughing on the couch, and I was like, "What the fuck is going on in here?" And he was watching Martin Lawrence on Def Jam.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, because when I was walking home, I was like, is there a thing that you can do to, make people laugh and get,
Yeah,
money?
yeah.
Whatever the 8-year-old version of that thought was. And then I go home, and then there he was, like watching that, and I was like, that.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna do that, like whatever that is, And then so that. So I always had that in mind that I wanted to do that if I wasn't going to be like a football player or anything like.
Yeah. Were you doing sports in high school?
High school, I played baseball and I ran track. I didn't play football because I wanted to be a kicker.
Oh, yeah. I was a kicker.
Really?
Yeah. I was the field goal kicker and kickoff.
Were you good?
Yeah, I could kick the fuck out of the ball. You know what I mean? And I played wide receiver, but I was way better kicker because I played soccer growing up. Yeah. And then I just got into kicking,
Yeah.
And have fucking man, I was the kicker.
That shit. I always looked at football, and I was a great like. Growing up, I played like flag football a lot and everything, and I played like Pop Warner. I didn't even play Pop Warner. I got cut from the team.
Yeah.
Well, I played but it was so fun. I was a cool running back, and I was an awesome wide receiver or whatever. But the kicker looked like the funnest job, and it looked like the least. Like you didn't have to do really much.
Yeah, man. I barely even had to work out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just walk on, kick it. Yeah. But man, and also look at some of the great kickers like Ray Wershing, like they worked like 30 fucking years.
Yeah.
But when you think about kicking, boy, when it comes down to the end of the game and you need that point, there's nothing more grueling than 2 seconds left on the clock.
The pressure.
Tie score. You're at the 40, and you need to kick to win the game.
Yeah.
Wow, man.
Have you ever kicked one and won the game?
No, I never got into that situation. You know what I mean? But but always kicking one just to kick a field goal to get points. Was always like nerve wracking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you could just I could crush like a 50-yard line or like a practice no one around. But once you get into the game, a little bit of wind, weird field, your cleat hits the fucking ground wrong or anything, it's done. You're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Shank it, whatever,
Did you make more than you missed?
Yeah, I made a lot, man. Our team was undefeated my freshman year in high school. Yeah. And I kicked a lot of good field goals. But then I never played after freshman because I was just so into rock music, Yeah. I was like, see you later.
Well, yeah, okay. So something like that kind of happened to me too, where I was playing baseball, and I was good at baseball.
Yeah.
I was like the fastest guy on the team, and not even on the team, like in the like all the schools that play. I was the fastest guy. And we had like scouts coming out and all this shit or whatever, and I remember I quit because I wanted to be in a play.
Yeah.
I wanted to be in a play called The Piano Lesson.
Wow.
And I quit, and my coaches were like, "Oh, you gonna quit to be in a play?" And I was like,
"Oh yeah." I mean, that's it. Like, was that in Compton?
No. Well, I went to Dorsey, so it was like South. It was like
Right.
Baldwin
But
Hills
that's
there.
got to be, people are like, what are you? Like,
Are you crazy?
yeah, like,
You-
fucking scouts are coming around.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't even really like this shit. I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah.
I only played sports just so I can be like, yeah, I played sports in high school.
Yeah, I played because it was just kind of something you did growing up. And then I realized once I was in high school, I was like, oh, I don't need to keep doing this.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And also, that's really where it becomes, I grew up in the 80s, where it becomes jocks against the rockers.
Yeah.
And there was this weird middle ground I was on. Like, I had long ass hair, and
Yeah.
I loved rock. But I was hanging out with these jocks that would like beat up rockers. And I was like, fuck these guys.
Yeah.
It's like the outsiders, the socias and the greasers.
Yeah.
I was more way into the counterculture of rock and roll
Yeah.
and artists and dirtbags than I
Yeah.
was these guys who are like, let's go out and fuck people up, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like, I ain't got no time for that.
Yeah. I and it's so funny because I knew early on like that baseball. While it was a very fun fucking sport or whatever.
Baseball been very, very good to me.
Yeah.
I love it, man. I love Garrett Morris.
And I played outfield, and so I was a good outfitter, but I knew it wasn't going to feed the crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't going to feed the crazy, or, so I was like, yeah, play.
Yeah.
So I just did that shit.
You did the play?
No, and what's so funny? We never even put on that play. We never even put on that play. I did another play after that, though. Another high school play after that, but...
I think back to when I first started comedy. It's been 8 years ago last week. And coming down to the store, and it would... that patio was so brutal back then, you know? It was the spill-off of... Danish and O'Neill were gone, but there was this new crew that were there, like, we're the crew, And I remember it would be like you, Willie, Gerard, Tony,
Angelo.
Benji, Matt Edgar.
Were you around when Angelo was here?
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah. I was the guy that brought Angelo on for Potluck. I was hosting Potluck that night, I remember Bobby Lee was like, bring Angelo on. This room sucks.
Yeah,
that night, man. I never fucking forgot it. But all those guys. And then I remember you and Willie got in this big fight. And you were banned from the store or whatever. Or you didn't come or something?
I never did get banned from the store.
Or you didn't come or something. I don't know what happened. But like seemed like you were gone for a while.
Yeah, but I wasn't banned, but I was definitely outcast.
Yeah.
For a while.
But then I started doing the open mic at 3 of clubs and then you guys all started coming around and like you guys were friends again and everything. So that seems like so long ago. But how long have you been doing comedy? Because that was 8 years for me.
14 years.
14 years. Did you start at the store? How did you get to the store?
I would do the Laugh Factory a lot.
The open mic?
You know how you're supposed to only do it like once a month,
right?
Everything like that. I didn't know that, so I kept showing up like every single week, and I would get up every single week.
Really?
Like I would get up like every single week, and then so at the time there was this guy named Brother Woods. I don't even know if you remember Brother Woods, but he would be like, "Hey man," I was already like 2 months in, like going up every week.
Yeah.
Hey man, he was like, "You been here going up." You've been up here like 8 times in the past. He was come back within a month. Yeah. And so I was like, what the fuck am I gonna do now? Because I thought the Laugh Factory was like the only. I didn't know about anything else. And then I would go to and then somebody was talking about like the Comedy Store or whatever, and I was like, I gotta go to the Comedy Store. And I went out to the Comedy Store, and everybody was always talking about how scary the room was, and how the energy was so dark and everything. And I got there. And I didn't have my crew at the time. Willie, Gerard, these guys, I was around way before my crew.
Oh, wow.
I was around you know, because I'm from here, so it was always like a hobby to me.
Right.
You know, like a dream, but a hobby.
Yeah, you just start down and do it on Mondays and then carry on with your life.
Yeah. And then but I signed up or whatever, and I got up. And then I got up and I did well. And I was like, and after my set, I was like, this room isn't shit. I was like, this room isn't scary at all. I was like, I actually like this more than the Laugh Factory.
Yeah. That's what I thought too. I was like, oh, this is great. It was all dark in there, and there was no one there. And they played, for me, they played rock and roll on the patio. I was like, this is on. Like, this is the spot.
I can really get my feet wet in here. Do some work. Yeah. So
you remember the early jokes you were doing there? Like, what was your early style? Where you're just kind of riffing like you're into Martin and stuff like that?
I was always
Chris Rock.
I love Chris Rock.
Me too.
He's a fucking genius. But no, it wasn't as like, I really didn't have like a crazy political point of view, but I was more like super energetic and just saying stupid things. Like saying like just things that I thought was funny and shit. I had like a gang of energy in that, and then that's what always like won me, or like you know. And so I was doing shit like I was saying like shit like my cousin said that she has leukemia or whatever, and I was like, no, bitch, you just don't got no hair. You know what I'm saying? Or I was saying little shit like that or whatever, and then I would like jump all on the stool, and I would be I would act out like my parents like fighting each other or whatever. I was like, oh yeah, my mom and her boyfriend or whatever, they get into fights or whatever, you know, but they do it but they jump all on the couch like wrestlers and shit, and I would just do a long ass act out of like me like
like WWF, but with parents fighting. Like off the top of the ring and shit. Like,
bullshit like that. Like I just thought was funny, and I was then I always thought that I was like, man, it's got to be more. I was like, because I'm also smart, but I don't know how to translate that into, you know, comedy. I mean, so I started studying like George Carlin and like all like these other people, you know, I just started doing more studying and everything. So, because I needed a point of view.
Yeah, right.
You know, so I was like,
well, I think that's what's great about you, because I think if you look at certain people when they come up, the people in the crowd immediately are going to cast judgment just on how you look, on something, what you're wearing, your age, your whatever it is. And then you shoot them with something, and they go like, oh, whoa. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get them thinking. And they go, oh, this guy is fucking, I like where this guy's coming from, or I don't like where this guy's coming from, and now it's great.
Yeah. And it's crazy. Like, you have to, you really have to like refine like your shit. Like you really have to like work on your shit for it to become this great thing. And I know that's like a given. Like,
that's an obvious, but also.
But when you do it and you see like results and shit, you're like, fuck, that really is the answer.
Yeah,
like,
it really is, right? Like in the last few months, I've been really working on these 3 bits.
Yeah.
Because I was taking it like, you got like 30 bits, and they're all pretty good. But what if I took 3 bits and really added on to them and built onto them and rolled these and see how fucking powerful they could get, and then move on.
Yeah.
And man, you really start to see some like things that don't work and things that really work, and you tool them to just tightness is rad, right?
Yeah. You know, and I mean, but even from aside from comedy and shit, like I watch like a lot of like rap and listen to like a lot of like freestyles and shit, and like I love shit like that, like motherfuckers like just coming off the top and just spitting and shit like that.
Yeah,
you know, like I don't know, you ever used to freestyle and shit like back in the day?
Oh yeah, I was so horrible. You know what I mean? It was so funny because I was way into like Beastie Boys, Paul's Boutique, and then this rapper Paris. and then Ice Cube, of course, the solo stuff especially, So I was, and then when it verged with Public Enemy was my favorite, I worshiped Chuck D. So when they merged and stuff, I was really like, I thought it was so gangster and powerful to have metal guitar and killer rap, and with messages though. Fight the Power to me is one of the best songs I've ever heard still this day. People love Nation, but I love Fear of the Black Planet because it's a lot like what I look at your comedy record as is it takes you on this journey, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
With the radio stuff, today, I don't know what you're talking about, the Fight the Power, and then it comes on, Burn, Hollywood Burn, and you're going like, God, this is great,
Yeah.
So I knew that I was terrible at that, but it would be fun to do sometimes, and we had this spoof band called Suburbia Violence, and it was me and two other guys.
Violence.
Yeah, it was like, we were like, what if we were three white dudes from a great neighborhood talking about how bad it was? You know what I mean?
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, and we did 3 gigs. I've got some video of it, and there's some up on YouTube. We wore women's dresses.
That's so fucking
with
funny.
masks,
Yeah.
And we actually made money, more money than my rock band was making.
That's so funny.
Yeah, but the thing was, we never wrote any raps down or anything.
Yeah.
We would go up and just ad lib them. So mine would always be like, a word. I'm crazy. I did a drive-by shooting with a BB gun, like that kind of shit. I threw a dirt clod at your house,
That's funny.
And so I did love it, and I love. I think about it, if I would have with rock. With music, I was so serious my whole life, like I am with comedy now.
Yeah.
So serious that I never wanted to combine the two, comedy and music.
Yeah.
Because it was like to me, music is so like, oh, no way, nothing funny about it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So I was like, fuck, people love this out of the gate. I got to get out of here. I don't want to be trapped as a parody band.
What made you go, man, I'm going to start doing stand-up?
I wanted to do it my entire life.
Yeah.
Growing up, dude, I worshipped, I worshipped Saturday Night Live. John Belushi to me, and when you get into
It's so bad now.
Bill Murray, dude, Stripes, and Caddyshack, and then my whole life was comedy. I worshipped, when you get into Living Color.
Yeah.
I loved Andy Kaufman. I loved all comedy, all of it. To me, back in the day, comedy and rock and roll were side by side.
Yeah.
But I didn't, there was no kids doing comedy, so I played rock and it went by. But, Bobcat, I saw Bobcat many times and Carlin and
You
Kinnison.
saw him when he was younger?
Oh,
like in his
yeah.
heyday?
Matter of fact, I got a ticket stub and I showed it to Bobcat. I went and saw him. I think it says $9 at Wolfgang's. And I go, look at this, man, ticket stub, Wolfgang's, which is Cobb's now.
Yeah.
And he goes, man, you can't even get a beer in there for $9 now. But I remember he came out as Prince, Little Red Corvette, and he had the Barbie Corvette.
Yeah.
And that thing was around him, and he came out as Prince.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
Fucking a showman, man.
Oh, yeah, unbelievable.
Brilliant.
But I was way the fuck into comedy, like big time. Still right now, of course.
Yeah.
More than ever now. But it was so weird to think about how much I worshipped it growing up.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
I mean, I don't know, how old are you?
I'm 31.
31. So I'm 20, years older than you. I'm 51.
Yeah.
But you were around during that. There's these ages of comedy to me that are incredible. 70s, to me, it was like Cheech and Chong, Richard Pryor, Carlin. These records were incredible to me.
Yeah.
They swore. They talk about fucking drugs and shit. Whoa. And then 80s, you get Kinnison, Hicks, Dice, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Mitch Hedberg.
Yeah.
And then in the 90s, dude, Chris Rock and Martin. I saw Chris Rock many times. Matter of fact, I saw Chris Rock at the Paramount in Oakland. And I ended up doing the Paramount a couple years ago. And it was like full circle to me because I worshipped Chris Rock,
Yeah.
Had Mario Joyner open. And then Seinfeld. those were my dudes. And then I drop out of comedy for about 20 years until I start. You know, because then I'm playing rock. And there's no really, I never watched Comedy Central growing up and stuff. Not growing up, but like 15, whenever it started. I don't know how old it is, but I wasn't watching that. I was, watching music videos and stuff.
It's so funny. You know who, I always think about this too. Like, we always talk about like influences and shit. Like, I loved, of course, I love like Dave Chappelle. Right.
Oh, absolutely.
But I did use like one of the greatest of like all time. But
yeah,
I didn't get to tell him, but I told because I wasn't around, but he showed up maybe like a few weeks ago and shit, and I wasn't there. And then some girl texted me and said, "Hey, Chappelle's here," and I said, "You know what?" And I said, "Hey, whenever you get a chance, tell him that he's phenomenal." I said, but tell him that my favorite comic of all time is Reggie Warrington.
Oh yeah,
from Nutty Professor.
Yeah.
And you know what's so crazy is that I thought that's how he did stand up. Because that was my first time ever seeing him like in anything like doing like stand up and shit. So I thought that's how he really did stand up, and I thought it was the funniest shit of all. I thought that guy was like the king of comedy. I was like,
right.
Who the fuck is this Reggie Warrington?
Yeah.
Although it's a movie, but I was like, is that how he really does stand up? And this and this and that. And then you actually see him do stand up, and it's great as well.
Yeah.
But I was like,
different.
Yeah.
That's what got me back into comedy.
Yeah.
Was the Chappelle show.
Yeah.
And, like when I look at like one of the all-time greatest is definitely Dave Chappelle to me. And it's like, I blew that Chappelle show off for like 3 years.
Yeah.
Because people were going like, you got to see this shit, dude. Oh my God, are you watching? And I was like, anybody that builds something that big, it can't be that big. That good. You know what I mean? Because they were like, it's like Breaking Bad. You're not watching this? And finally, I sat down. Somebody sent me the 2 seasons. I got them in the mail on DVD. And I put them in, and I was like, oh, this is fucking fire. And then from then on, I was completely hooked on comedy again. And then I ran down the rabbit hole. I watched his Fillmore special. I watched the other special that was shot on Broadway in San Francisco at that other one, and the red, I forget the club name now. But I started watching all Dave Chappelle. And then I was hooked,
Yep.
It was so crazy. Then by the time I start comedy, he's gone,
Yeah.
And I remember he came back, and I told Dave this. He did the main room.
Yeah.
And Al Magical opened. This is when he came back from Africa after he quit the show and everything. He did 2 shows at the Comedy Store. And I sat front row because I was by myself. They go, you got to sit here. And I was laughing so fucking hard. He stopped and said, "It ain't that funny, man."
Yeah.
Like he pointed me out like I was fucking him up. I was like, damn. It was, and I said, "You're wrong, man. It is that funny."
Yeah.
I was dying. One of the funniest sets I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
You met who'd you meet recently? Eddie Murphy. I saw the photo.
Oh yeah, I went to Chris Rock's Blackout tour at the Kodak Theater.
How was it?
And it's great.
Yeah, right.
I always saw Chris like working out at the Comedy Store and everything, and that's great.
That's my favorite. The Chris Rock low key.
Yeah, like where you just like he's not putting it on or anything.
I love that Chris Rock.
But then like, when you go and see him like do his show, and then you're like, oh fuck, he's doing the Chris Rock.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. People gonna pay. He turns it up.
It's like it was an experience. It was like fuck.
Yeah.
But So everybody came out. Like Kanye was there.
Wow.
Kim Kardashian was there. And then who walks in was Eddie Murphy.
Unbelievable.
And
yeah.
I looked at shit and I was like, and it took me a while to I shook Chris's hand or whatever, and we chopped it up and whatever, and then Eddie Murphy walked in, and I was like, fuck, I need to, and I never get like this where I'm like I want a picture or anything. I'm not that guy. But I was like, I gotta have a picture of Eddie Murphy and Chris Rock together and shit. And so
yeah, you gotta have that.
Well, excuse me, you two, can I have a picture? No, I asked Chris. I said, Chris, can I get a picture with you and Eddie? He was like, hey man, you gotta ask Eddie.
Yeah, yeah.
Eddie was over there playing piano, actually.
Right, yeah. Party all the time, party all. Yeah.
I was like, hey man, can I have a picture with you and Chris? He was like, oh yeah, of course. And then Chris told him about my album.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And then he told him about my album, and he was like, yeah, man, he got this funny joke about Martin Luther King, being broke and everything. And then Eddie laughed, and that shit was great. That shit felt great.
Yeah.
So.
Eddie Murphy was so monumental growing up, man.
That motherfucker is funny.
I loved him on Saturday Night Live, Buckwheat, I'm Gumby, damn it. All that shit,
Yeah, I remember when he came to the, what was I gonna say?
The store?
But yeah, he came to the store.
Oh yeah, everybody was trying to get him to go up. Paulie was.
Yeah, we were there, and this is around how like me, Carmichael, Willie, we were all Chris Rock. No, it was a Tuesday night when they used to do Tripping on Tuesday.
Oh yeah. Oh, I remember he's in the crowd, right?
Yeah.
I remember that night. Everybody's like, Eddie Murphy's here.
And then so comics were going up and shit. So me, being Carmichael and Willie, we were watching Eddie watch comics and shit, just to see like what he laughed at and shit. Like, so he loved Earthquake and all this shit. And then we watched him watch Chris Rock go on stage. Yeah. So we were watching Eddie Murphy watch Chris Rock go on stage. He's just laughing his ass off and shit. And it was so fucking cool to see. And then so me, Carmichael and no, it was Rail Battle actually. Yeah. And then we was like, oh man, we gotta shake his hand. I was telling Gerard, and then and he was like, all right, man. Well, he's leaving out. He was like, they said that he went around. They said that he went around through the OR.
Oh yeah.
So me and Carmichael, we run. And we kind of like cut him off, kind of sort of like he's coming down the OR stairs. And
yeah.
You see his leather boots first, and then you see his pants first. Then you see him in that vest with the glasses on and shit. He was like, here he comes.
Yeah.
He fucking comes down and shit, and he's about to walk past us, and I was like, hi, Eddie. I was like, I'm Jamar, and then he shook my hand. He was like, hello, Jamar. And
then,
And then and I was like, oh, this is Gerard. And then he was like, oh, hi, Eddie. And then he took his hand and shit.
Oh,
and
my
he was
God.
like, Rel, get over here. Trying to go around out there and shake his hand. He was like, nah. But yeah, it was so fucking cool. And then he hopped off, and then he drove off in a limo.
Oh, man.
So fucking up. Yeah, man, with the Blackout Tour, man, shout out to Jeff Ross for even getting me up in there, man. That's shit was
great.
Fucking dope, man. Jeff Ross.
I wanted to see that, man, but I was in New York when they were here, Yeah. I'm dying to see that because I watched him work that material, and some of it was so incredible,
It's like it's almost like he just speaks in like premises and shit.
Yeah, he's so great, man.
He's such a great mind, yeah.
Now, let's see. Let's talk about when the one-man show is going to be on. It's going to be in Hollywood.
Yeah, so it's going to be at the Greenway Court Theater. That's off of Fairfax and Melrose. It's attached to the Fairfax High School.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, it's attached to Fairfax High School.
Oh, is it that wood building there? Yep. Oh yeah. I see that all the time.
Yeah, right there. And it's going to be on January 26th. There's two shows January 26th. There's a 7:30 and there's a 9:30. And then January 27th, there's a 7:30 and a 9:30. And yeah, man, it's gonna be.
And where can they get tickets? Can they get them online or something?
Yeah, they can get them on Brown Paper Ticket.
Oh yeah,
Brown Paper Tickets, and it's brownpapertickets.com. It's Jamar Malachi Neighbors presents Definitely a Comedy Jam. It's DJ by Coach T, and the comedians will be Underground Legend, hosted by OJ Jersey. And,
I'm going to this for sure.
Crack Baby from Compton, J Raw, and the man in the purple jacket.
Yeah, I love how you've already changed it. You're like, I might change it, and then you're like, okay, because here on this painting, he's a guy with no shirt on with wings.
Yeah,
he's basically your wave character at the La Jolla.
Yeah, I was gonna come out just with no wings on and just start trying to talk prophecy, but like, I don't fucking know. But it's gonna be something. It's gonna be truly amazing. It's gonna be DJed by Coach T, like I said, and so get your tickets, man, and let's just have a good time.
And then also your records on iTunes. Tell them what that's called.
It's actually on. It's a mixtape. It's on Dat Piff.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Dat Piff. It's called America's Nigga. It's America with 3 Ks. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's called America's Nigga. It's pretty fucking dope. And we're actually in the works doing another one. We don't know what it's called yet, but so be on the lookout for that. But yep.
Awesome. And then you got any road dates or anything, or just Comedy Store?
I just got the Comedy Store coming up right now, so I'm there tonight at 11:30, and tomorrow Thursday at 11:45. And so I'll be there all week.
Yeah. And then Instagram, Twitter?
My Instagram is at Jamar Neighbors, and my Twitter is at Jamar Neighbors.
Word. Thanks, dude, for doing the show.
Thank you for having me, Dean. It's always fucking been a pleasure talking to you, man. And thanks for the hookup on them Doc Martens.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, man.
Oh, by the way, you have to come out to this show because January 25th is my birthday. So now you got to come out to my show.
Oh, rad. How old are you? 32, huh?
I'm going to be 32, yeah.
Yeah, man. Doc Martens. The boot keeps stomping.
Yeah. Thank you, man.
I love you, dude. Thank you so much. Hell yeah, man. There he is right there, guys. Make sure you follow him on Instagram and leave a review and subscribe on iTunes right here. And also check out the YouTube channel, Dean Del Rey, with every episode of Let There Be Talk. Candles are lit.